What's going on, guys? Will here from Sky Ultimate, and today I am bringing you a video all about cutting in the horizontal stack. Now, the horizontal stack is a super awesome offense. It's super dynamic, and it gives you a lot of options to kind of use the fact that your players are spread out to make some really dynamic cuts. However, it can be kind of difficult because there are less sort of prescribed motions like there are in vert stack, less like strict patterns, like when this happens, the other thing happens. So communication can become very important. So when you find yourself in a position where you have two cutters isolated in the middle, both being defended by their respective defenders, this video is kind of going to cover what patterns you should look for and what motions you should use to kind of get the best cuts possible out of that scenario. And all the different things to look out for when you want to determine who cuts first and where they should go. Hopefully this video will help you out a lot and should allow you to make some really awesome cuts and really awesome throws right off the bat in a horizontal stack. So stick with me and let's get into it. All right, moving on to our little diagram segment of the video. As you can see here, I've set up a basic kind of horizontal stack, at least part of it, where we have this center handler and our two cutters that are going to be isolated in front of the center handler. This is a position that occurs all the time. If we catch the pull, we're going to center the disc to our center handler, and we have our cutter set up in front of them. Or if we get a turnover, we have our center handler pick up the disc, and we have our cutters set up in front of the disc. So you can do this from different disc positions or slightly different scenarios, but generally this is the position that you're going to see the most often when you're initiating out of a horizontal stack. So, like I mentioned in the intro, communication is super important in a horizontal stack. So we want these two cutters at least saying a couple of words to each other before the disc gets tapped in so that they know who exactly is making their cut first so they don't go on top of each other. Usually we want one person to cut first and the other person to either clear or set up their cut based on the first person's cut. So, for example, if number 2 wants number 3 to cut first, they would say, hey, you go first. Or if number 2 wants to cut first for whatever reason, they would say, I'll go first. So you communicate that really quickly before the disc goes live, and then whoever is making their first cut can do so and feel confident that the space they want to take is not going to be kind of jammed by some other cutter. So I'm going to give you 4 scenarios from here that you can look for 4 different patterns in the defense or situations that you can kind of try to spot out that would indicate to you who you want to cut first and where you want them to cut, to kind of take advantage of what the defense is giving you in the most efficient way. So to start off, let's just say one of our two cutters is not being defended very closely and they're just being given an easy cut. So in this scenario, this can happen to either of these two cutters, but in this scenario on the screen, number 3 is being given multiple yards of space, like their defender is playing way off of them. For whatever reason, if you are being given this much space, you'd want to just take the open cut. In general, in Frisbee, obviously, that's a very good idea. So number 3 says, hey, I have 3 yards off of my person. Like, this guy is just sagging way off. Number 3 says to number 2, hey, I'll go first. And they take an open undercut. Simple as that. That's just an easy, nice yard gain. This defender is not going to get even close to catching up to their player. And that's just a nice, easy gain. And, like, this could go either way. Let's just say number 3 is actually being guarded closely and number 2 is being kind of poached off a little bit here. Number 2 recognizes, hey, I have like a significant amount of space off of my defender. They're just giving me an easy deep cut. Number 2 would say to number 3, hey, I'm going first. And then they would take off, presumably deep, because that is the cut that they are being given. And we get a nice huck off of that. So that's principle number 1, is someone being just like not being guarded closely, being given a very free, easy, kind of uncontested cut. We want that person going first and taking that free space. Let's just say both players now instead are being guarded closely. This is obviously a little bit more common. But let's just say for whatever reason, one of these players has a significant skill or athletic mismatch. This, of course, will happen more commonly in lower levels of Frisbee. But, players, some are super fast, tall, some are not as quick or slow, whatever, more or less experienced, whatever. If you recognize that one of your most athletic players or just any one of your athletic players is not being guarded by a very athletic defender. Let's just say for this example, number 3 is like a foot taller and probably faster than their defender. We want in general to isolate, of course, our best players against their worst, or not, maybe not worst, but worst defenders. We want to set them up for success. So if number 3 has a good mismatch, they are much taller, faster, etc., we want them to just take the first cut, right? We want them to just do their magic, do their work, whatever they want to get open. They can cut either direction. Presumably, again, if you're a foot taller, you're probably going to take them to the deep space. But again, if you have this big mismatch, you want that player going first. Awesome. Now, more common scenario, let's say we're playing against a team that, again, they're guarding both players pretty tightly, but let's just say they're a little bit more conservative. They really don't want to give up a deep shot, and both of their cutter defenders are forcing our players, our offensive players, underneath. They don't want to give up a deep shot. That's why they're kind of sitting behind our players. In this scenario, and again, assuming neither of these players have a huge mismatch, we want our open side cutter going under first. Now, okay, why is that? We could just as easily have number 2 go under first. Well, in this scenario, if number 2 goes under and catches this, now we would have 3 cutters. Let's say assuming in a horizontal stack, we have this fourth wing cutter over there. We now have 3 cutters on this one side of the field, and it's just going to be super jammed on this side of the field. So to avoid that, we want to just have our open side cutter in this scenario cutting first to get the disc. So again, that's principle number 3. If both cutters are being forced under, we get the open side going under first. Nice and easy. Finally, let's say a team is defending us more aggressively. They want to test us. They want to say, hey, beat us with the hucks. We want to see you beat us throwing deep. So both defenders are now stopping the undercuts, and they're inviting both cutters to go deep. So in this scenario, obviously we want to set up a deep cut. So who should go first? In this scenario, we want the break side cutter to go first, and we want them obviously to cut deep. So why is that? Well, anybody who has thrown hucks regularly will know that throwing to somebody who is coming from the break side is a little bit easier because they have a little bit more space to work with, first of all, because you're probably going to be putting the huck out to the open side. But also, as a cutter, it is far easier to read a disc that is coming in from the side versus coming in straight over your head. And when you're cutting in from the break side, this throw is going to be coming in from the side, going towards you. Whereas if you set up a cut from here, the disc is going to be coming in basically straight over your head, which is a lot easier, or a lot harder, to read and actually make a play on. So if we want to get this deep shot off right off the bat, we want that to come from the break side because it's a little bit easier of a throw. So that's scenario number 4. And that's pretty much all I have for you today. Obviously, there's lots of other things that the defense could be doing to, try to stop those first 2 cuts, to mess with you and things like that. And generally, you just want to keep the lines of communication open. Even if you don't recognize a pattern like this, it's okay to just always, as a default, in situations where you don't recognize something, to just have the open side player cut first, whether that's under or deep. But just make sure both players know what is going on and both players communicate so that they are both able to make viable cuts without, running into each other or anything like that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, drop a comment if you have any questions, or if you try it out in game and it works. I would really love to hear that. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.